Hey, so as I'm sure you've experienced firsthand, confidence or a lack of confidence is a really big thing when it comes to learning and speaking English or any language for that matter. Now, there are many reasons why adult English learners specifically lack confidence. And in today's video, we're going to talk about some of those reasons and of course, what you can do to address these problems and to boost your confidence when you are speaking English. Let's go. First of all, there's the fear of making mistakes. Now, a fear of making mistakes is very common among English learners and anyone who is learning to speak a foreign language. Naturally, nobody wants to make mistakes. We don't want to be misunderstood. We don't want to be ridiculed. We don't want to be judged, right? So it's totally normal and natural to not want to make mistakes. But what happens is sometimes we let this fear of making mistakes basically stop us from speaking altogether. And when we never speak up or we never take the opportunity to speak, the end result is that we lack confidence because we never get the chance to practice. So what can you do about this if you're afraid of making mistakes? First of all, you need to reframe your thinking about making mistakes in English. And you need to understand that it is a very necessary and important part of the learning process. You also need to realize that 9 times out of 10, or most times, people are not paying attention to your mistakes. They're paying attention to your message, okay? And if you're really nervous or really afraid of making mistakes and this stresses you out, it's best to practice with other English learners who are in the same boat as you. This takes the pressure off of you and makes you worry much less about your mistakes. Another really common reason why you might be lacking confidence is simply that you have a lack of exposure to English. You are just not exposed to English in your everyday life, and therefore you're not comfortable or confident using it. And the simple solution to this is to create opportunities for yourself to be exposed to English as much as possible. Now, I know that sounds like it might be difficult. I don't mean that you have to travel to an English-speaking country or be around only native English speakers. That's not what I mean. You just need to find practical, simple, and realistic ways to expose yourself to English as much as possible in your daily life, okay? Now, you can make small changes like changing your electronics to English, for instance. You can change your computer and your phone into English. It's very small, but it's a good place to start, all right? You can also do any of your online searches in English. So if you're searching for information about something or a recipe or a tutorial, just go ahead and do those searches in English, okay? Another simple thing that you can do is rather than writing a message to someone and maybe translating it from your native language into English, go ahead and leave them a voice note or send them a voice message, okay? Now, these are just a few small suggestions of things you can do. But the main idea here is to carefully look at a typical day in your life, okay? And look at each activity, each task, each thing that you have to do and ask yourself, can I incorporate English in some way to this thing? Even if it's as simple as, okay, when I'm having my morning coffee, I flip through the news. I see what the news headlines are for the day. Can I do this in English? Yes, all right? So there are simple changes that you can make to expose yourself to English much more. And these suggestions I've given you are things that you can do on your own without anyone else. Of course, there are a lot more things you can do. You can join classes, social groups, tons of other things. But these suggestions are a great place to start, all right? So make sure that you are taking advantage of every opportunity you have to expose yourself to English. Another common reason why you might not be feeling confident in English is because of negative past experiences. Now, these negative past experiences could have come from your childhood, your English classes in school, maybe recent English classes, perhaps you had an interview in English that didn't go well, any negative past experience. Naturally, when an experience is negative, we want to get away from it. We want to avoid it. We don't want to repeat it, right? So whether your past experiences with English were difficult, perhaps you felt like people didn't understand you, it was uncomfortable, and now you don't want to go through those experiences again. So as a result, you just avoid things in English out of fear of repeating these negative experiences. Now, the solution here is to understand the reality. And the reality is that every single experience is completely separate from our past experiences, okay? So imagine that you took an English class a few months ago and everyone in the class had a higher level of English than you, and you just felt like you couldn't keep up, you couldn't understand, you were embarrassed, it was frustrating, and you just felt like, this is too hard, I can't do that, okay? You need to recognize that that one experience is isolated. It's not connected to any potential future experiences that you may have. You need to treat every single situation as separate. It's human nature, it's natural for us to let bad past experiences influence our decisions and our actions and the things we do moving forward. That's natural. We do this in all areas of our life. But when you pause and really think about the reality of the situation, you will realize that that difficult English class you took has nothing to do with the next English class that you're going to take. Or the boring classes that you had in school as a child have nothing to do with the conversation class that you are about to join, all right? So here the key is to learn to separate experiences rather than letting our bad past experiences impact the potential that we have moving forward. And to help you understand this, you can think of this concept like a relationship. Imagine that you have one bad breakup or one bad relationship and you say, okay, I'm gonna be single for the rest of my life, right? You're gonna miss out on potentially meeting an amazing life partner. It's exactly the same with English. If you let one bad thing hold you back, you're never going to see your true potential. A lack of vocabulary might also be causing a lack of confidence. If you're in a discussion or a conversation with people about a new topic and you don't have enough vocabulary to participate in that conversation, naturally you're not going to feel the most confident, okay? So a lack of vocabulary could be holding you back. However, this is quite an easy fix. You just need to build your vocabulary bank around common topics and a variety of topics, okay? A lot of English learners tend to stick to the topics that they already know about. So this could be your own culture, your work, your family, and so on. It's very common to discuss these topics, to practice talking about these topics, and so on. However, in order to expand your vocabulary, you need to read about, listen to, and talk about different topics, a variety of topics. Here you're really going to need to step outside of your comfort zone. And you might be feeling like, okay, I don't know anything about these topics. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about sports. I don't know anything about fashion, okay? Whatever the topic is, luckily you have access to the internet. All you have to do is a quick Google search, and you can just read a blog post or watch a video or listen to a podcast about topics that are new for you. And that is going to allow you to learn vocabulary in context around a new topic that you can then use in your conversations, all right? Another point to consider is cultural differences. Now, why is this important? You may be living in a native English country and you might find it difficult sometimes to relate and to talk to and to understand people who come from a different culture than you. And again, this is completely natural. It happens to everyone. It's totally normal. But sometimes when we're faced with cultural differences that we don't fully understand or we're a little uncomfortable with or confused by, we sometimes retract from the conversation or we're a little bit quiet and we don't really take that opportunity to participate, to practice, and to learn something new. So if you are around people from different cultures and sometimes you find it challenging to communicate with them in English, All you have to do is educate yourself about their culture, or better yet, take the opportunity to learn directly from them. Ask them questions, be curious. I have mentioned in some of my other lessons that curiosity will help you to improve your English faster. So instead of shying away from things that are new or different, or maybe you're just not familiar with, take that as a learning opportunity. Another common challenge that might lead to a lack of confidence is difficulty with English pronunciation. A lot of people find English pronunciation difficult. Again, completely understandable. And if pronunciation is a challenge for you, there are lots of things that you can do to help yourself improve this. First of all, you need to focus on learning features of English pronunciation that will help you to speak more naturally. You can also use techniques like shadowing, which is literally listening to audio of an English speaker and trying to copy them or shadow them as closely as possible. So you could even use this video and shadow me. Just listen to 10 seconds of me speaking and repeat it as closely as you possibly can. And to take your shadowing even further, what you can do is record yourself speaking, play it back, and compare it to the original audio. Recording yourself is a fantastic technique. Another thing is to remember that pronunciation and accent are not the same thing, okay? Pronunciation refers to the rhythm, the intonation, the sound of how you speak, and your accent is obviously influenced by where you come from. So this means that, for instance, if I speak Spanish, you're not going to think that I am a native Spanish speaker necessarily, because I'm still going to have my own accent, my Canadian accent, okay? But what's important is that my listeners can clearly understand me and my message is not lost, okay? And remember that pronunciation is one part of a language, and if that is a weakness for you, you can focus on developing this one area. And finally, a lack of fluency might be causing a lack of confidence for you. Now, fluency is the ability to speak freely, naturally, without hesitation on different topics in English or in any language, okay? That is what the definition of fluency is. And if you struggle with fluency and you have to pause, think, translate, and so on when you're speaking, naturally, you're not going to feel the most confident. I have witnessed or seen a lot of people who struggle with fluency just stop talking in the middle of a conversation. So we're having a conversation, they have to stop and think about something and they say, it's okay, never mind, or don't worry, okay? This is very, very common. Again, when we feel afraid or uncomfortable, we retreat or stop or freeze. We don't like the situation, right? Now, what you have to do to overcome this challenge is to practice speaking for as long as you possibly can about different topics. And the cool thing is that to do exercises like this, you don't need anyone else. You can do this completely on your own. All you need to do is get a list of speaking prompts about different topics. Now you can make this list yourself, or you can Google it. Simply Google discussion questions about and whatever topic. Discussion questions about travel, discussion questions about culture, discussion questions about language, or speaking prompts about and whatever topic you want, okay? The key here is to switch it up. Make sure that you are using a variety of different topics. Don't only practice talking about the same thing. For example, let's say that your speaking prompt is, what are the best and worst things about your culture? Okay, this is just off the top of my head. What you need to do is speak about that for as long as you possibly can and record yourself speaking. Before you start speaking, it's okay to jot down a few notes, to think, but do not write full paragraphs and read them out, okay? You can write a few words or a few key points, record yourself speaking, and speak for as long as you possibly can, okay? This is gonna help you with your fluency. Remember that fluency is the ability to speak freely. This does not mean that you're writing and reading your answer. It means that you are able to speak off the top of your head. Of course, you can think for a few seconds beforehand, 10, 20 seconds, okay? And then try to shorten that time, because in reality, you're not going to have this thinking time or this preparation time when you are actually in a conversation, okay? So this is a simple exercise to develop your fluency on your own. So when you are in a conversation, you're going to feel more confident. Now, if you're currently facing one or more or even all of these challenges, that is absolutely okay. Because as you can see, for every single challenge, there is a solution. There's a simple solution. You don't have to overcome all of these challenges overnight or in one day. Just pick one, work on that one, and then when you're feeling better, move on to the next, okay? Before you know it, you're going to overcome all of these. I also want to remind you that confidence is a skill that can be learned, built, and developed. I personally know this firsthand. I have mentioned before that I absolutely hated being on video, speaking in front of a camera. I was not confident. I was shaking. I was sweating. I couldn't get through 30 seconds of speaking on a camera. But I was able to identify why I was lacking confidence and slowly overcome the things that were holding me back. So I really want to assure you that even if you feel like you have zero confidence, it is something that you can develop, okay? So I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you learned something from it. If you did enjoy it, please do give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. It really helps this channel to grow and to reach English learners around the world. As well, don't forget to grab your free ebook, English Conversations Made Simple. It's linked down below this lesson. Thanks so much for watching, learning, and spending time with me today. I'll see you soon in another one.